Good morning. We're just going to let everyone in and then we will get started. Good morning, everyone. We still have more people joining us, and then I will hand it over to our presenter. Alrighty, we had a few more people come in, and I will let people in as we go along, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Natalie Layton. I am the president and CEO of the Yountville Chamber of Commerce, and I am excited to introduce today Allison Day with Good Things Done Right. She is going to take us through social media marketing in 2026. So, with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Allison. Take it away.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I was telling Natalie, I've done this presentation so many times, and it's for the Yountville Chamber, for the other chambers in the Valley as well. And putting together these presentations, it's like, what will we talk about this time? And as I'm sure you are all aware, and probably why you're here, things are always changing. So there's always new and exciting things to talk about. And as you'll see further in the presentation, the more things change, also the more they stay the same as well. So looking forward to sharing with you social media marketing in 2026. And I was looking at the RSVP list and I see a lot of friends on here, colleagues and stuff. And I was laughing to myself. I said, next time we should just do wine and sit around in person and talk about this. So if anybody's ever into that, happy to indulge. But for now, it's Thursday morning, and let's jump in. So first off, whenever I do one of these workshops, I want to thank people for being curious. That's the number one um, skill and personality trait that's really important in the success of exploring social media and um, being a part of this landscape and how we're doing it and what's happening and the best case scenarios on it. So thank you for being curious. I'm Good Things Done Right. I have a team of 10. We're based, most of us are in the Valley, some are in Portland and some are in Seattle. And we are focusing with social media with a soul, digital marketing with a heart, really looking at how we can come and show up for our clients in a digital space that feel like real people are doing it. And I've used this line for the last 10 years. Hungry people are my favorite people. So whether it's good ideas or good dish, that has driven a lot of what I do in this space. What we do, so social media marketing leadership, audit programs, content development, photo shoots, web design and maintenance, SEO, Google and Meta advertising, influencer programs, and event coverage. And we have also found that all of those things holistically, offering those services holistically for clients that are looking for them, give us the best case scenario when we're activating digital storytelling. But for the sake of this presentation, social media leadership is our bread and butter, so to speak. So just putting some, I always like to put some um, big metrics in as a centering place of where we're landing in 2026. This was pulled from Social Media World's newsletter and some other sources that are noted at the bottom. And it's easy to find this like global number, but for this sense and what we're working on, especially in this climate, talking about what we are looking at from a United States point of view. So 254 million Americans are scrolling right now. We look at them all as potential customers. Uh, they are on social media 2 hours and 20 minutes every day. That is a very rich amount of time to be consuming content. And which thusly says that 68% of small business owners say that social drives most of their business value. So make that note that it's value, not just revenue, but so small business value in 2026. And the state of California, from a metrics point of view, is number one for social media engagement. So when they pull metrics of what people do state by state, California ranks number one engagement. And we'll talk more about engagement in following slides. This is a new point of view that I've been introducing in the last about year and a half, just as I've been meeting more clients. This is a centering point of view as we jump into this presentation. Social media has never been meant to carry your business. It's powerful, but it cannot rescue a business that is struggling underneath the surface. I put this in for so the audience from the RSVP list that I was looking at are people that I know running social for other clients, small business owners, and then just overall marketing directors. So this is a nice reminder to share with your stakeholders, your higher ups, or reminding yourself that social media was never meant to carry your business, but it's a powerful tool to drive your goals. But it cannot rest. You cannot jump in and you hang your hat on social media to rescue what is struggling already. So, in my 10 years of owning an agency, I've been in the Valley working on social media since 2009. These conversations happen over and over again. This is where businesses get stuck. They're posting consistently and not seeing inquiries. They're growing followers, but not growing revenue. They're trying all the things and they're not growing the way they want to. And they don't have a clear path from identifying their customers of I found you, then I trust you. People really forget that very crucial middle part to I'm ready to buy. And buying means, I'm ready to buy your wine, I'm ready to buy food at your restaurant, I'm ready to buy hotel rooms in your town. All of those are the customer journey, and having a very clear path around that is where people fall down and then they show up for social media wanting to activate social media without these clear pathways. So something to remember. Again, it doesn't mean it's not working when you use social media. It just means that there's a disconnect between the visibility and the conversion. And the word is really that social media is an amplifier. So if you're not looking at everything holistically, from distilling down from a marketing plan, giving your social media team or yourself when you're activating social a better play, and you're treating every post as high stakes. We have clients that are always asking very minute details with not seeing the forest amongst the trees. If you're treating it as that, there's probably a gut check you need to look at before activating social in the way that you need to. These included these in this deck just for again some positioning. If you're feeling this way and you're not seeing the results on social, there's probably some other things to be looking at that could be contributing to the lack of social growth and success. Um, these are really applicable in wine country and in the wine world, especially today, but also amongst other industries. So again, this holistic view and really where we have grown from just being a social media agency to a full digital marketing agency is that we were often brought in through the lens of social, and then seeing that the website experience didn't match what we were trying to push online. They weren't converting at a certain touch point, and we were analyzing where they were falling off. The price point doesn't work for the market at different times. So working with, the sales team on that. Um, and then even something as small but huge as the final checkout experience is clunky. So if you have this activated social or you're doing social and showing up, but these other things aren't working, you won't get the results that you're looking for. So again, just another reminder, it reflects your business. It doesn't reinvent it. Great reminders for your social team or again, yourself on what social does and doesn't do. And just again, you don't need social media to save your business. You need it to support the one that you're building. So always that is the drumbeat that I bring to any client relationship, any work we do. The own business that I do for myself is again positioning where social lands. So that context is really important as we dive in further into the landscape. So, what are we looking at in 2026? Like I said at the top of the presentation, the more things change, the more they stay the same as well. And so we'll be talking about things that probably seem familiar as I've presented that way before, but then underlining the pivots that we've changed that are changing. One of my favorite quotes, I was uh, reading a social media marketing world newsletter, and Dan Murphy from Liquid Death, who is a very big, trendy brand in water. The ability to create content has far outpaced good content, and it could not be more true. We are all now competing amongst a platform within platforms that are allowing anybody to create any kind of content. AI slap, um, hashtag Sunday Fun Day, pointless posts, et cetera, et cetera. And so when we're really trying to move the needle on good content, we're getting lost in the fold. And so you really have to be analyzing it constantly of what kind of content that you're putting out. But that is probably the biggest place of change in 2025 and 2026 is just this full court press to as much content as being put out, not necessarily good quality. Social media, and I've said this for years, and now more than ever, especially as Gen Z is getting more buying power too, and they're demanding more authenticity. Social can't be treated as a megaphone. And this is something I see a lot in wine country where it's pushing out content constantly, but there's a lack of conversation. And whether that conversation happens in the posts and inviting people to engage, all the way down to the community management or really pushing direct message conversations, that has to be happening more. Again, to move your metrics in 2026. Discovery has moved from Google, not that Google's done, but it has moved from Google dominating directly to TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and building more into AI as well. So social is becoming a deeper search engine, and the algorithms are performing that, delivering that. And algorithms are also rewarding, as I said, authenticity over high production value because people are responding to that, the authenticity, and then they're serving that content to more people. And building community. Community has always, again, been this thread for years and years and years, and continues to be a top priority of building a community within, again, your specific wine brand, your restaurant following, all the way up to the destinations that we're working on. It has to replace the broadcasting point of view of pushing out content constantly to looking at the full picture of what people are experiencing in real life and on digital, and bringing that to your marketing plans and social. Uh, why this all matters, clearly, as we showed with the statistics of how many people are on social, how long they're spending each day on social, it's they're here. The question is how and whether you are and where you are. So breaking down some of the again, sexy stats on social and why it matters, but 81% of consumers, this again, have all the sources at the bottom, this is Sprout Social. 81% of consumers research a business on social before making a purchase decision. It's one of our biggest selling points in getting clients on board. It is, you have this great website, hopefully, you have email marketing activated. You're also, maybe you're doing search ads or not, but people are looking at your social media feeds to get a sense of the experience, the product, or the overall trust that they want to build with you, that you know what you're doing and you know what kind of product that they will need. 81%, huge metric on that, which again validates our use of time spent on here. And those platforms are mainly TikTok, Instagram, and or YouTube. From a starting point, Google isn't typically their starting point with 1 and 3. And again, 5 versus 500, a 5-person business with an authentic voice can easily outperform a Fortune 500 ad campaign. Yes, they might have a bunch of dollars behind it, but oftentimes those are falling down from, again, an authenticity point of view. People are seeing through it. They feel like it's broadcasting versus authenticity. So I often say to people at a small business scale, yes, your audience will be smaller, but the potentiality of their conversions consistently will be stronger if we show up in the right kind of way with the strategy. And again, this is building these presentations for places like this. I know that I'm talking to people at various different levels, so I often try to put in positioning slides so that people that are at the 101 level or in the weeds with a small business are getting just as much value as the social media stakeholders who are far into it. So wanting to level set on how platforms are showing up in 2026 as well. So a lot of you already know this from what Instagram delivers and what the best practices from that. Really utilizing Instagram from a lifestyle, retail, wine, and food point of view, again, because it's so visual focused. Facebook, we have a lot of conversations with clients about Facebook, and the metrics still show up that Facebook does deliver. And um, it's actually the age group, while there's a deep engagement from varying degrees from a 55 and older audience, we are seeing that metrics are going down from an age point of view to be a 35 plus, especially through the lens of Facebook groups and in travel. So I'm on, again, anecdotally, a couple of Napa Valley travel Facebook groups. It is gold for recommendations. If somebody from your business isn't in these Facebook groups recommending, um, again, your own business, your own product, but also just your community as a whole, you're missing a really fantastic customer driver on that. TikTok, as we know, that's uh, it's a hot button platform. Again, supports lifestyle and travel, and the businesses supporting that. LinkedIn, we've been really leaning into that with a lot of our wine clients. From a thought leadership and professional services point of view, to support their sales teams mainly. YouTube, again, another place that we're beginning to get deeper in is where we are creating so much video content for Instagram. We are parlaying that into YouTube Shorts. Again, being the second largest search engine is a place to play for sure. And I should have taken X off because I never work on X, but Threads is absolutely another place that we are beginning to explore for our clients. It has grown precipitously in the last couple of years, and people are pivoting there for conversations. Whether it fits your business or not is something left to be seen. But again, just saying where the people are and how they're engaging, Threads is definitely a platform for that. And then this is end of 2025 data. I wasn't able to find accurate data this early in the year for 2026, but these are the general platform demographics, again, from age group and gender, and how much people spend on it per day. Very interesting data points for that. Um, what's in and what's out. So I could talk about this for 4 hours actually, but really wanting to give a high level takeaway. Again, if you're flipping through this deck, or you're talking to stakeholders or your boss, and especially if you're like a social media team or marketing, what's in, what we're not doing. I find the ins to be pretty obvious again from what we're really talking about. Something to call out really would be that carousels are starting to come back from a deeper engagement point of view than even reels. Reels are asking people to consume content and view it, and we're definitely reporting on those viewership metrics. But carousels are fantastic for algorithmic growth. So because people are scrolling through, and if they keep scrolling through all your slides, it's telling the algorithm that the content that you're delivering is worthwhile and they will continue to deliver it more. So we've been really leaning in to more carousel work with our clients. What's out? So again, you can read all these on your own, but the over-polished AI generated content, or AKA the AI slop that everybody's saying, and anything that's super over-polished, your metrics will tell you what's performing, and your success metrics on what your business goals are will obviously tell you where you want to go with this. But really, the anytime that people, especially new audiences, are coming into feeds and seeing something that looks super overly produced, lots of buying hooks. The calls to action are always about buying, and clearly trying to be viral in a sense without giving an overall brand. You're just not going to get the metrics. We've seen that consistently over and over again. Again, you can email me for more of my, Natalie and I are talking about ranting. I could rant about this for hours, but happy to drop some more thoughts in an email if you're so inclined. Um, so I'm going to say authenticity 17,000 times in this presentation. I should probably look for another synonym around it, but I think it just gets the job done. And what we're trying to drive home is that now more than ever, when we are consuming endless amounts of content, when we are going to conferences, when we are talking to people, when we are going into when we are actually going into places and engaging with brands, people that don't feel authentic, people that are just trying to sell us, people that don't have any emotionality behind things are not moving the needle. And AI is really driving a lot of that dysregulation around that too. Uh, this again, this stat was from Social Media Marketing World Newsletter. 52% of consumers disengage when they suspect AI content. I do. I would assume that you all, to varying degrees, would too. When you're scrolling through Instagram and you see kind of a lifeless AI post, it's like, well, what is this brand? This brand doesn't even care to actually show me what I should really expect or really get from engaging with them. And so people scroll on because they can find something else. Some pull out again quotes that I found from some newsletters I follow, but Duolingo, I don't know if you've been following them. I mean, they really doubled down. They're a language platform and they doubled down on originality around their mascot and really developed a deep personality behind that and definitely got in the news very consistently and was a huge brand building play for them. Taco Bell, it's a it is an inauthentic, whitewashed Mexican food restaurant that's fast food, but they have leaned into what their brand value and proposition is and created a very strong voice and positioning within the marketplace and consistently shows up. Their metrics reports, I was reading the other week. I mean, consistent growth over month growth, year over year growth that ties to their revenue sales. So again, a different industry, but just showing that a brand that, yeah, isn't high end or luxury, doesn't have maybe even a lot to talk about from a brand building point of view, clearly spent time on how they want to show up digitally to get those results. And then Annie Mae Hodge, she's a social media commentator. I think this is something I really love this call out because I often feel like that when I'm talking with clients, when I'm like, we can't be too polished, we can't be too buttoned up because people don't respond to that. I think they think that means I'm saying it's okay to make it ugly. And that's definitely not where I'm landing in that. It's all about a strong curatorial eye and how you want to show up for that, but making it feel real as opposed to overly polished and what I call kind of lifeless. So, we're at the end of March, so we're at the end of Q1, and if I was doing this in January, I'd obviously say predictions, but these are actually happening. Here's that word again. Authenticity is the algorithm. So we are seeing that time over time that any time that we show truly authentic content, we talk like a real person. In posts, we deliver ads that are resonating to the consumer in the climate that we're showing up as, drives our algorithmic growth more than anything else. Short form video has been this way for the last at least 6 years, since 2020 for sure. And I didn't say content, I said context is king, and this on purpose. So creating short video that maintains context in the overall push of your branding strategy is vitally important to having your short-term video be effective. Community over broadcasting, like I was saying before, building this community, building your audience so that they want you in their feed and they want to see it over and over again so that when they're ready to take an action, they will, and they'll be ready to convert whatever you're asking them for. Again, like I said, social search is the new Google, and we will talk more about this in some slides later, but AI is a workflow tool, not a content creator. And I will go toe to toe in any conversation about AI being the best kind of content creator versus an actual person. Again, a lot of feelings about that one too. Um, I threw in this slide because I've actually been having quite a few conversations with potential clients and even some current clients, mostly within the wine space. Viral is a very loose term of what I mean about this. Virality can be people's expectations of wanting 30,000 people to be viewing their reels, all the way, obviously, up to the big virality of millions. But really reorganizing people's expectations about what a successful post looks like and what we're trying to do from a metrics point of view that like I was saying on the right hand side, a video with 10,000 targeted views can convert 5 times more than one with 100,000 untargeted views. So really talking to clients or potential clients or small business owners or whoever that are leveraging any sort of paid promotions and such, that we're trying to get more and more targeted, obviously, than throwing the net super wide and getting in front of a bunch of people that would consume the content but not do anything. This is also the same when we're delivered videos to work with, or we're pitching videos to take. Short form videos are much more engaging, and this is probably what we're seeing the sweet spot would be is 2 minutes or under. 2 minutes, you're hitting a point that if you're not saying anything that's super engaging or of value to your audience, you're going to lose them, and obviously they won't be watching more of those. And since this is a specific audience I'm talking about videos about your winemakers. Winemaker videos are consistently some of the longest form and most boring pieces of content because it's basically a talking head talking super deep about something. And really, if wine country could begin to look at engaging winemakers in different more creative ways, and I'm not talking about TikTok dances, but breaking up these longer form videos into smaller form content, I do deeply believe that the translation of brand trust would happen at a much faster pace. And then the diversification. So like I was saying, carousels, long form in written content, not video, and behind the scenes content all serve different goals. So people will read things that are interesting. People will consume long form video if it's good. But the sweet spot we found has been short-term video content with long-term written content, not together, but tested around that. That's the umbrella that I should remind you all that all of this, whenever you go to a workshop, whenever you hear someone talk, this is all about under the umbrella of test and learn. So if you're a small business owner and you're hiring a social media agency, or you have a social media team, or you are the social media team, making sure that your stakeholders are buying into that digital, especially in 2026. I probably should have made a slide on this now that I'm saying it out loud. The attitude of showing up and how to do it is through the lens of test and learn. It's okay if something fails because, especially through the lens of digital activation, showing up is still better than not showing up. And having the attitude of like, got it, we tried that. That didn't work well. Maybe we can fine tune it, but not again creating every post as super high stakes, but a place to again learn and grow from. Like I said, TikTok has been in the news quite a lot in 2025. We stood back without telling our clients to pivot away from TikTok because I wanted to see where the platform landed, how many people stayed on. TikTok continues to be a driving force, even with new ownership and algorithmic changes. It's still finding its sea legs with all of that upheaval, but the algorithms are still delivering through the lens of searchability on that. And like I was saying, captions are many SEO documents, again, through the lens of searchable captions. Hashtags still matter, but it's really your captions that are going to be the driving force. And so the keyword work that you might have done in the past on websites and such should also be applied to your platforms, especially with TikTok, because like I said, it's becoming the place that is being crawled from an algorithmic point of view to deliver content to people that are looking for it. So they're typing in Napa Valley. You have Napa Valley in your captions, you have Napa Valley wine in your captions. Those are showing up in search terms when people are doing travel planning or best wine or best restaurants or best fill in the blank. Those sorts of things, thinking about that and how you create your captions is really crucial in 2026 and getting the value for the time spent. Just really driving home this stop broadcasting sort of point of view. Again, there's only a certain amount of buy-in that we can get from clients around this and just small business owners. Thinking about this is how to again continue to pivot away from just talking at your audience versus bringing your audience in. This UGC metric was really resonating. This again was pulled, the sources are at the bottom, but a 10.3 times higher conversion rate than non-UGC posts, which is why we have consistently kept that a deeply important strategy point for Yountville's social media strategy. We curate a lot of UGC content for the feeds because that delivers. And we tell people that we are resharing visitor content. And again, we curate that, and people are following us for our curation as Yountville to show what the experience is. And we also obviously write original content and captions around it. But using on the ground user generated content has been consistently a strong deliverable since actually 2018 when we started. So just something to consider. And again, that's a test and learn for yourself. Does UGC content work for you? This slide is again for those that are still in the weeds about how to activate their social, what makes sense, how to show up for it. Always like to throw in these slides for people to as a takeaway. It's like pick one platform first. Lean into that. I've been saying this for years. Batch your content. It's the best way to show up for social for yourself. Spend an hour, schedule 3 to 5 posts. Like I said, Meta has confirmed that 3 posts a week is enough to stay on the algorithm. Anything less, you're pretty much wasting your time. Repurpose relentlessly. So if you've activated more than one platform, you have this content, don't be afraid to use it other places. Like we were saying, we're creating all this content for Instagram. Well, we're just going to put it up on YouTube and see how it performs there. And then if YouTube is picking up, then we might be moving some of our scope and time from Instagram over to YouTube and doubling down on that. But again, it's this test and learn space, but we're utilizing the same kind of content or actually the exact same content with maybe some word choice changes or music changes if it's reels, etc. But I tell my team, I tell clients, I'm not afraid to reuse that content, especially if it's video content that we've spent time creating. Let's see where it best resonates, and time of year, time of day, time of week, all those things can factor into that. Use content pillars. So figure out what you want to talk about and use those as silos to dump content in, and start imperfect. So consistency, consistency, consistency over perfection. One of my biggest red flags with working with clients is ones that get super in the weeds about one post when it's like, actually, this is a numbers game. Obviously, we want it to be correct. We want it to be interesting and engaging and all those other things, but we need to get this out and we need to show up consistently versus getting wrapped around the axle about one post at a time. That usually indicates a bigger thing we need to talk about. This is we have these big strategy decks and content work that we do internally at the agency, but I distilled it down really into some more bite-sized ways to take away for you all about how to approach creating and building posts. So does it educate, does it engage, or does it promote? And then giving kind of a golden rule breakdown of how to approach it. I've gotten a lot of feedback from potential clients or workshop attendees in the past that this has helped them as a general worksheet on how to organize what they want to say every day. Again, some content formats that are really resonating in 2026. A lot of things that I already talked about, wanting to clarify the long form storytelling. So it's this moving away from the 7-second trends to these longer form, meaning like the 1 to 2 minutes, but then stretching it out into series or having people storytelling the longer form content over multiple posts versus a one and done. Something to really think about. And uh, why should they care is again the thing that I say over and over again to my team, to my clients, to everybody involved. If you need to create content in which tells people why they should care, and if you can't answer that, then your content probably isn't resonating the way that you think it should. Again, some more cheat sheets on what, again, you should care about, what's working, what to share with your stakeholders, the do's and don'ts. Again, for time, I won't go through each of these, but happy to answer questions at the end about this, what this means, why it matters, why I included things and why I didn't. But again, this is a nice navigational beacon. We have this internally and in the agency too, much more built out. But helping the content creators stay on track with what matters and what doesn't. So wanting to talk about paid in 2026, just for those of where we're landing in that. So there's obviously organic content and then paid content, organic social and paid social in 2026. And budgets are variable amongst our clients, each business, industry, state of the world, et cetera, et cetera. But to grow, you have to consider a budget that includes both organic social media content and additional paid on top of it. Without that, you are just kind of throwing it into the wind and hoping that your organic content, that is important, but it becomes even more important that you have a tight strategy around that to move the needle versus paid gives you, again, much more direct navigational beacons on how to get things done. So email marketing is you in 2026 from a digital point of view, you have to have email marketing. It's the biggest driver of conversion we found across industry, especially if you have a strong and activated social, driving them to driving to build a newsletter list, especially, or driving to the website and a newsletter pop-up happens. People giving you their email shows a very deep intent to buy or to want to know about your business more. Again, when you're building the paid strategies, focusing on where your target audience is most active. So again, this is a test and learn point of view. This is nothing new. This has been this way for a while and continues to be this way, TikTok and Instagram for Gen Z, who are, again, building their buying power. So while it might be easy to dismiss them now, we want to be curating them to be ready to buy, especially as older generations leave the system of deeper buying and experiences around that. Sponsored content is also an incredibly strong driver from a paid strategy point of view that we can talk about further. Video and interactive ads continue to dominate. They were in 2025 and continue into 26. And we spend a lot of time putting money behind video ads on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Then we've also this has been since the beginning of 2025, retargeting campaigns. So these are people that have visited your website. You put a pixel on your website from social, and when they visited, that gets captured, and then you can run ads against those people. So they will see your business ads come back up whenever they're on social based on what kind of budget you have and what kind of targeting you're doing. But retargeting has been a deeply successful deeply successful strategy for campaigns that we have done, and we continue to leverage that in 26. First party data. This goes back to email captures and stuff. First party data is one of the best ways to build your audience, and you can do so much with those emails. So obviously getting them into the email drip campaigns that you would build out for your business, but also uploading them into giving them to your digital team to upload to do retargeting and to again begin to build out more clear audiences on who is engaging with you and doing that. So third-party data has been deprioritized and with privacy and all of that with Meta. So first party data, so that's the ones that you capture, is crucial and continues to be crucial throughout 2026. Again, there's so much more I could talk about paid, but I wanted to give you these takeaways in this deck and happy to talk about this more with you all. But again, these little tastes on it. And we couldn't go through 2026 without talking about AI and where we're landing in that. One of the biggest things to remember and is not to over index on AI, especially right now. I believe that AI is your intern, not your voice. You use it at the beginning stages of ideation and giving you a place to, put your stake in the ground, but it is not for final deliverables of captions. I actually share with my team. I'll send it to Natalie too. It was a great article that she can share with you all. It was a great article on how to identify AI writing. And I shared it with my team so that they could look at the way that they edit their content. We don't reuse a lot of AI in our final deliverables, obviously, but we do it in ideation spaces. But to identify sentence structure and the way that AI delivers it is really obvious once you know what to look for. I truly believe this is what social media marketing world in their newsletter pulled out, but I believe this too. I don't think that AI can replicate the human experience. And I see it over and over again in the way that we create content and what delivers versus a lot of our client competitors. Not a lot, but we see it very frequently with, again, AI generated content. The engagement and the metrics and the growth, the divide is still pretty evident in that. But how can you use AI? So, layering out how we show up with AI and the platforms that we have played around in. So, automating tasks, obviously, in the back end, Zapier is my favorite platform for that. Improving customer experience. So, clients that are open to utilizing things like Drift or Intercom. So, those are those automatic messaging platforms back, especially in direct messages. It doesn't replace having a real person. We have a community manager on our team that manages all of that in real time. But this first immediate engagement point of view that if someone's in your inbox, giving them immediate things to do or next steps has been really successful. Um, increasing revenue and optimizing campaigns. We've used Clearbit and Clary a lot, and then obviously Google Ads, Smart Bidding, have been really effective in again getting us things, information that we didn't know we needed to know, and then distilling down a lot of this really minute content. I'm sorry, minute metrics and results and parlaying that again into clearer strategies has been really effective for us. We do use content streamlining content strategy. So putting like helping generate ideas. I should have added in I've been using Claude more for that than even ChatGPT. Again, there's a lot of space to improve on this, but it is my thought partner versus my thought creator. And so it's like, okay, how can I talk about rosé in a fresh way that feels like something somebody else hasn't talked about? And then we have a conversation back and forth about that. And then I begin to distill from there some fresh points of view to show up for our clients in that way. And then enhancing ROI through smarter decisions. So helping forecast, I do a lot of forecasting with Klaviyo. I've used Tableau a little bit. But that has been one of my favorite platforms, again, to adjust with marketing strategies and marketing trends, especially through you can put in different industries and see what's coming down the pipe. So again, some things to remember when measuring what matters. So this whole thing about these vanity metrics and this ego boost around likes and follower count and what I call meaningless posts. So there's a space and a place for having obviously you want people to be liking your content, sure. You do want to be growing your following count. Well, I'm going to be talking about this in another slide, but your follower count doesn't reflect the success of your social media strategy or final conversions, especially in 2026. And meaningless posts, what I mean through that is if you are posting, I'm talking wine specifically, like if you're posting about points and winning points for a certain release, and you're seeing that that's never being engaged with, or actually thinking about, does your following even really care about that? And you're just doing that over and over again to check a box because it's how it's always been. Uh, those are ego boosts metrics versus actual driving of strategy. It's just something to think about. It's a hard conversation to have for people at times, but we really have to show up with what people care about. And if they don't care about points, or if they don't understand points, or if you haven't done education about points, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe at the end of the day, it's better to have that live on your website and use social for something deeper, or your digital activations around that. What we're really tracking and what is mattering in 2026 are saves, shares, and actual DMs and comments. So saves are telling people that they're saving that content that because they want to come back for more. They're sharing it to their community because that content's interesting. And then direct messages. Comments, yes, but I'm finding that people are commenting less and less as the years go on, but direct messages are increasing. So again, these are where the algorithm is paying attention to this. And then obviously people that are taking these actions are showing that they care about your content and they want to revisit your content or share it again, like I said, to your community. So engagement over followers. So Adam Mosseri, he's the head of Instagram. There's two types of ranking on Instagram: the connected reach, so that the accounts that follow you, and the unconnected reach, accounts that don't follow you. So both of those things are being, both of those followers or audiences are being delivered your content, regardless of if they follow you or not. And so while people are banging the gong on how important it is to grow followers, not followers are also seeing your content, especially in their For You page or based on what they're searching. So to be really wrapped around your follower growth in 2026 doesn't really matter that much anymore. It's really and the algorithm certainly doesn't care about that. The algorithm cares about engagement. So it's the content that you're putting out and what people are doing with that content that is more important than ever. Do we still report on follower growth, especially in wine, because our wine clients very much care about that? Yes, we do, because we show up for what our clients want to care about. But I always talk about that it's very much deprioritized from, again, our engagement metrics. And so wanting to talk about, I had a lot of slides about influencers last year in the presentation that I did. And again, that could be a whole presentation in and of itself. But again, for time's sake, wanting to pull out some of the smaller points of view on it and reminding people influencers still matter. It's again from a word of mouth point of view, but really leveraging micro influencers continues to be the biggest and best use of your time. Uh, Talking about the sick and tired of watching the same boring influencers, absolutely. I think people are just sick and tired of watching the same things over and over again. It's funny, I was interviewed for Wine Business Magazine or Wine Business Journal, and my opening headline that they quoted me was people are drowning in the sea of sameness. And then I saw something on LinkedIn where Ted Hall wrote a whole thing about the sea of sameness thing, and really driving home more, again, this goes back to authenticity, creativity, and then working with influencers that all don't feel the same either. That's really been something that I've driving the team. We run the Yountville influencer marketing program, and trying to identify influencers that don't all look the same. You know, young white women that travel all over the place and have a relatively uninteresting engagement rate. It's like, where are our yes ands? So what kind of new audiences do we want to get in front of? How do we want them to show up? Because we still want to utilize them, but we want to utilize them much more, yeah, showing up in a much more smart and strategic way. This is a takeaway for all you to write down when you're looking for how to identify influencers. You do the engagement rate. So you figure out the engagement rate by taking their last 3 or 4 posts. You add up their likes, their comments, shares, and saves. You can see all of that. and then you divide it by their impressions. You probably won't be able to see that, or their followers, and then you'll get an engagement rate. And that will tell you what their actual numbers are. So again, take away their follower count and look at their engagement rate, and that will tell you what kind of deliverables you can probably expect from that. So 1 to 3% engagement rate is fair to middling and a worth talking to, depending on especially the kind of content they create. Anything over 5 is gangbusters. So you use a whole amalgamation of things to consider, what their content looks like, what kind of audience they are telling you they have, and then their engagement rate, though, is really where we make the decision on if we're going to work with an influencer or not. Again, could talk a lot about influencers. Happy to answer any more questions about that. But again, giving you these little takeaways. Putting in these kind of old myths and what we talk about with people all the time about these expectations on how to show up with social media. I won't go through each of these, but this is what I created this based on what we have seen and what we've worked with clients on, and really helpful to again reposition and re-educate stakeholders on how we're showing up in 2026. And I have like my last 2 slides here, something to think about in engaging a social media team, whether that's an agency or an individual, when you should do it yourself versus hiring it out. Sometimes depending on your goals, it makes more sense to do that just to streamline it. Or if you have the time to show up to do it yourself. And then this again is for those small business owners that are wanting to re-engage their social, or again, they haven't spent a lot of time with it, or you're about to start with someone new in-house, your closing action plans and next steps. This is just the quick takeaway, super high level on what to do next. And sometimes it's just easy to have someone tell you where to start and where to jump in. So I'm Allison Day of Good Things Done Right. And we rifled through so much content, and it's 10:52. Okay. I spoke at a nice fast pace here. Again, like I said, all tons of content all the time with this, but happy to jump in to some questions from you all.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Allison. Yes, lots of wonderful content and important content to keep in mind, especially this year in this ever-changing landscape. Like I said in the chat, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in there. This presentation will also be made available on the Chamber's YouTube page, so you can go back and refer to it, pause it, take your own notes. But while people, get their questions in the chat, I have one. And I was just curious, and this may be kind of industry specific, but is there one social media outlet that you recommend for a small business just to kind of get started if they don't have any social presence yet?
Instagram. Instagram is the easiest onboarding and adoption platform, I believe. TikTok has a little bit of a learning curve, especially because it's so video based, versus Instagram has a lot of different applications that still matter. Like I was saying, your static photos can still do as well as creating a reel, or stories can really buffer that space and place for when you don't have a lot of tight video happening or lots of things planned. Stories can still be a way to get in front of your audience. So yeah, Instagram is probably the easiest platform to buy in for someone just starting.
Amazing. We
And
have a question in the chat.
vertical,
Looks like horizontal versus vertical video. Yeah.
vertical video almost exclusively. Yeah. So I mean, if you're, so yes, I tell my team to film mostly vertical. If we are expanding into building out more of a YouTube strategy, we do play in horizontal a bit, but YouTube, with especially YouTube Shorts, covers vertical. Facebook covers vertical. And then ads, if any sort of ad activation, vertical is much better than horizontal from, all the different places that Meta will deliver it. So you can get a with shooting vertical, except of course on websites. But then I typically, if someone's shooting like a sizzle reel for a website, I ask the videographer to then do a cut for me in vertical, so that I can use it in both places.
Amazing. Great advice. Are there any metrics on professional short form video marketing versus chaotic slash humorous short form video
Mm,
marketing for
great
businesses?
question.
That's a good
I
question.
mean, yes, there are tons of metrics.
Mhm.
This is it is absolutely by brand typically, because luxury content can hold the chaotic humorous just as much as a more trendy brand can. It's just about what your audience is expecting from you. This is where I go into really encouraging. I mean, my favorite clients are the ones that are ready again to test and learn. And it's obviously through the lens of brand boundaries and guardrails. So we're not going to, yeah, like I said, put the winemaker in a TikTok dance. But if the winemaker has a really charismatic personality, then maybe it is coming into play with some more of the trends. So my agency does the Fink downtown. I don't know if you're familiar with Judd Finkelstein. He has this really great and big personality. And what we quickly found was that the audience does not want to see anything but Judd's face. And it's a cocktail lounge. I share cocktail videos. But I have now leaned into curating more of some of the trends off of Instagram and TikTok. I curate the ones out that I know his personality wouldn't be comfortable with doing, or the audience, which is probably about 45 plus. Like there are certain trends that won't work for that, but that has been one of the biggest drivers of newsletter for us. And then in-person visitation, as opposed to being more uptight, like serious, not serious, but like traditional, beautiful cocktail videos, they actually want to see Judd having some fun. So to answer your question, I don't have specific metrics on overall, like a general this or that. It's so brand based. I'd be happy to have you in my inbox and we can talk a little bit more detail for your specific brand. But my attitude is it would be really worthwhile to look at your past year, what the top performing posts have been, and what you can glean from that and where to go from there. And then maybe if you're not doing any of the more funny videos, and again, funny is so variable, testing something to see how people respond to it and then go from there on that.
Amazing. We have two more questions in the chat. The first is an industry specific question. So I see firsthand how successful brands are on social media, particularly when they are appealing to something that a viewer feels that they need, i.e., skincare, clothing, etc. This type of content, all driven towards the purchase. Do you see wineries as a different area, more for brand awareness or exposure rather than resulting in wine sales? She also went on to say, every time I see effective sales posts, I wonder if this is ever applicable to our industry or if our approach really does need to be focused on reinforcing our branding and awareness.
Gosh, Allison, great question. Uh, Wine will always be a multi-dimensional branding approach on digital for sure. I have seen that the best brands, the ones that are most successful from a conversion point of view, and again, you have to remember conversion from a digital conversion from an on-platform in-feed digital point of view. So this is the content that we're producing. I'm not talking about ads that are driving directly to a sales goal, but in content feed point of view, the best and most successful ones are the ones that actually deprioritize the bottle and talk more about the overall lifestyle that's attached to the wine brand. So yes, the wine is in play. And again, I'm talking about the actual product versus the experience. The actual product, when that is deprioritized from a bottle shot, and again, it's amongst creation around, again, the brand's lifestyle that the brand believes in has been consistently the most responsive. And what I was saying in the deck of building the brand trust, like, why should I care to have X wine in my wine brand in my feed? What are they contributing to me? We actually had a great conversation with a client the other day where it was, while we don't need to be talking about the state of the world, so to speak, definitely not. We do, though, need to talk about people are going out to eat less. People are buying less, but they are still wanting to have people over. They are still wanting to have a great bottle of wine or great food on their table. It just looks like a different point of view. How can we then begin to create content that talks about that and talks about how people are actually feeling versus just promoting the wine bottle in and of itself? And that does dovetail into experience, like the experience if you have a tasting room or an in-person experience. Those are easier to accomplish because it's really what has been shown the most successful in that is literally just showing the space over and over again in different angles and points of view, because that's really from a search point of view what people want to understand. From a product point of view, it's looking at, when I say lifestyle, I know that's such a loaded word, but it's again talking about why people should care about your wine and giving them an an indicator of they want to be attached to that wine brand, whether it's again in your newsletter send that hopefully gets them to the purchase point of view, or to just be adjacently attached for all of your different offerings.
Yeah.
I hope
And
that answers your question.
last question here was, aside from iPhone, what's your favorite camera to film videos or photos on?
Yeah, I just got an Osmo. My brother works in TV, and I was asking him what I should get as somebody who doesn't do like, I'm not professionally trained. And he said, the handheld little Osmos, I think it's the Osmo 3. I can confirm that and send it to Natalie, but it's a tiny handheld. It's about $800, but it has hands down been the best investment I've made for video quality, in content capture. And he said that my brother said that the cameramen on set use those to film extra content as well. And so the quality is really high for pretty easy user access for ones that don't have a lot of experience. So yeah, my team and I have been using the Osmo in our content capture in conjunction with iPhone, because the iPhones are pretty good.
Love it. Amazing. Well, thank you all. Thank you so much, Allison, for all of this content. We will definitely be following up. Again, this is available for everyone here to revisit or share with your team or stakeholders. And we'll give you back your day. Have a wonderful rest of your week and a beautiful
Thank you
weekend.
all. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.